Hi friends, and welcome back to Gardening Suburbia. My name is Amanda and I'm a homesteader here in Cincinnati, Ohio, Zone 6. Today we are nearing the end of April. May is coming up very quickly. So just the other day I took the time to draw out my garden. I have in years past tried online garden planning tools, but I think I'm more keen to just drawing it out myself. It gives me time to kind of just relax, unwind, and I like the artsy bit of actually drawing out the plans. So I spent, it was probably like 2 or 3 hours just sitting in this chair looking at my garden and trying to visualize where I want to plant things. So this year I definitely have started a whole bunch of new varieties of flowers and herbs. I actually took the time yesterday and took count of all of my flowers and herbs that I have started, as well as a few that are just seeds, so that I can kind of get an idea of where I can put things. So what I've done, and this is totally something that I find useful to myself. I like the idea of planning it. I don't think that I always follow through quite with the plan, but this at least will give me something to look back on to be like, yeah, that was a really good place that I planted those flowers, got enough sun, or perhaps it wasn't a great spot because they didn't get enough sun. So I've split my garden into, I think, 3 sections. Yes, I have 3 different sections, and I kind of left off 2 different areas from the garden plans just because they're more of like a, I don't know, they're fillers. So the main areas of my garden are my side garden, which this is the area on my driveway, and then I have the upper garden. So this is the area that is surrounding me currently. And then I have my, I called it the upper in-ground garden. I was going to make another page for my, lower garden for like the wooden raised bed that I have on the slant, as well as the newest raised bed that I put in this year. Along with these, I have my herb stocks. I have my green stalks. So I think Green Stock actually sells like a garden journal that you can go ahead and actually fill out. You can absolutely do that. What I've done in years past is take Post-it notes, and leaving the part that's sticky, I'll just cut or trace out, draw basically what the layer of the green stalk looks like. So each of my green stalks has 6 pockets. So I just make a circle, cut out little notches so that there's 6 individual pockets, and then because these are Post-it notes, I can then just stick them onto a page. So I've got them labeled on here as a strawberry herb stock, and then my medicinal herb stock. And then I have my third one, which is right there behind me, which is going to be an experimental green stock this year. Just trying to grow as many, well, not that. We're going to try to grow in that green stock like it's the only space I have. Seeing as I've continually expanded every single year, I want to give an example that if you only have a little bit of space, that this is an example that you can kind of follow along with. Obviously, you can plant whatever you like, and that's the glorious thing about gardening. If you don't like tomatoes, you don't have to plant tomatoes. If you absolutely love hot peppers, you can devote your entire garden to hot peppers. So I just wanted to kind of give an example. I'm still working on exactly what I'm going to be putting in that, because it is the deeper green stock. It's the original green stock. It has deeper pockets. It can grow things like peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, which I did last year, and it does it really well. As for the green stalks that are behind you guys, They are the leaf pockets, which are a shallower depth. They're more for things like leafy greens. I have some yarrow in this one right here that is doing fantastic. The upper level of that one is some wild bergamot, which flowered last year and was phenomenal. It is now since taken over that entire layer, so I think I just kind of have to give it to that. The green stalks, I went ahead and labeled them on my designs, and then I have an expanded version of those guys on separate sheets with them labeled with what they are, corresponding to the main layout. So I have them labeled from top to bottom. So this is going to be the very top layer to the very bottom layer. And then I have them numbered because one of my green stalks has 7 layers and another has 5. I am just trying to kind of get my brain together and get the garden organized, designed. We have a lot of things growing in the garden that have come back as perennials. Some things that I totally forgot I planted, and some things that have just reseeded themselves from last year, which is really, really cool. What I think I've decided so far is that the garden that is on my driveway is going to be dedicated to my cut flowers and maybe some perennial flowers. So with my cut flowers this year, I have some flowers that have grown really phenomenally, and then I have some that have been kind of on and off. This year, I decided to try my hand at growing Lisianthus. I've never grown Lisianthus before. This year, I started it from seed. Basically, so far what I have is a very sad tray of about 10 of 30 that actually look like they were gonna make it. I've heard that Lisianthus is harder to start from seed, and I think it's just because it's such a slow grower. So these guys were started on January 27th. I up-potted them from my soil blocks to these guys on the 5th of this month, 5th of April, and then they just got really sad. Got a lot of weeds in here too. So these guys, we're gonna give a good home. So I think that the Lisianthus is going to get it got really sunny. I think the Lisianthus is gonna get a good place up in that side garden. And I think a majority of my dahlias are gonna go up there as well. So this year with dahlias, the dahlias overwintered really nicely. In my zone, dahlias don't last throughout the winter. It gets way too cold for them. I have seen people do things like kind of mounding straw or mulch on top of the dahlia tubers to kind of keep them warmer. But it really does get quite cold here in Cincinnati. And every year is a little different. Sometimes it's way colder, sometimes a little more mild. But this year and all of the previous years, I've always just dug up my dahlia tubers at the end of the season when they start to die off. And I put them in a tote with some kind of medium, whether that's vermiculite, peat moss, and I think you can do like wood shavings as well. Sand maybe. I don't know about the sand. But last year I did peat moss and it worked really, really well. So we've got a good number of dahlias that I am going to be planting in the garden this year. I've got creme de cassis, and all of these guys I'll go ahead and put a picture of from last year's garden. I've got my creme de cassis, which is a beautiful purpley hued flower. I've got a lark's ebb, which is more of a variegated like peachy pink dahlia, and then my rock star. These are the ones that I've grown pretty much every year for the past like 3 years or so. The rock star is more of like a single petal dark purple black dahlia, and then I've got a few that I've picked up along the way from either Um, I think most of them I got from Funkies. One of them I got from my sister. So Bishop's Children and Black Beauty I picked up from Funkies. Bishop's Children, I believe it has a dark foliage. Most of my dahlias are like the typical green foliage, but the Bishop's Children was a darker foliage with this really bright, almost orange flower. And then the Black Beauty, which I don't think I had it flower last year. So I can't quite say what color its flower is going to be, but I did have a tuber that survived, so I will be planting that in the garden. And then the Pina was one that I gotten from my sister. She started it from seed. I think she got her seed from Botanical Interests, and she gave me a dahlia start, not from tubers, from seed. I planted it in the garden, and then I dug up tubers, and I have more tubers from it, and it is like this really like white, peachy, pink orange, and it almost has like a cactus type petal. So those are the dahlias that I have this year that I'm going to be starting in the garden, and I'm going to be putting up in that front garden. Currently, as it stands, we have some peonies, some St. John's wort, a mullein that is on its second year, so it should be flowering. I planted some snaps, although I don't know if the snaps are really quite enjoying the compost delivery that I got, because I haven't seen them grown that much, but we'll see what they end up doing. And then we have our wooden raised bed up there that is full of tulips that are slowly dying off, and it's kind of getting its second wave of flowers that are in there. We have a Carnation La France, which is a beautiful light pink carnation, and it went ahead and it actually overwintered this year. And I planted in 2 varieties of sweet peas in that bed. I have my high scent sweet peas as well as some Sweet Dreams sweet peas, which both are going to be phenomenal. One of them is the one, I think the high scent one is the one that my sister gifted me seeds from. And if it's not that one, then it's down here in this wooden bed. And I said I was going to take note, but I didn't. But I know as soon as it flowers, I'll be able to tell which one it is, because it is a beautiful little white flower with like a light purple edging on the petals. I did plant my my Spencer Ripple Formula mix of sweet peas up there on this really cool like flower post thing, garden decoration I got from my boyfriend's mom. And I think that once the sweet peas actually take off, that thing is just going to be covered and it's going to be so pretty. So I'm really hoping that the front or side garden is like this really beautiful lush garden full of cut flowers, as well as some staple perennials that will just kind of make it a little easier to refresh every single year. As we move through the garden, I have put in a new raised bed, a new in-ground bed over here next to my neighbor's shed. It doesn't quite get full sun. It's more of a part shade, and I'm really thinking I'm going to be making it into a perennial garden. Something with some native flowers that are going to bring in the pollinators, as well as just be more hands-off. I don't need to get into it because my garden really I have a lot of poison ivy in my garden. Not all of my spaces have poison ivy, but that space in particular definitely has poison ivy, and if I can avoid getting in that area so I don't have to chance getting poison ivy, I'd rather avoid it. So I have a lot of really beautiful native perennials that I think I'm going to be planting over in that area. If I look at my list, I have the Penstemon Rocky Mountain Blue, which is like if I'm remembering correctly, it kind of looks like a miniature snapdragon. And I'll try to put a picture of it up there. I think that guy is gonna go in there. I think I'll be putting some Aline in there as well. I have some Urginium Blue Glitter, which gets to be about 2 to 3 feet tall. And it's like this spiky blue flower leafy thing. I've never grown it. I have it. We're gonna see what it looks like. But it is a perennial in my area, so I'm gonna give it a go. And then Foxglove, Lupine Russell Blend, and some Echinacea. I think all of these are gonna be really fantastic adds into this. Of course, I probably will add in maybe some feverfew and some chamomile into that bed as well. Maybe not. We'll see. So I really want to add some pops of color, some perennial flowers, native flowers. I do have poppies in my freezer, which one of you commented and told me that the variety of poppy that I put into the freezer doesn't need cold stratification, which you're correct. It did not need cold stratification. We'll see how it goes. I may not get poppies again this year. It'll be okay. We live and we learn. I think it is the Icelandic poppies, that variety or sub-variety of poppies is the one that is really beneficial for cold stratification, which I'll keep in mind for next year. I have already actually hardened off all of my plants. They're sitting right behind you. But we do have a few nights that are kind of nearing below 40. And I don't really want to risk planting something out for them to just get killed by a light freeze. We've already hit my last frost date, but we are still getting some nights that are kind of chilly. Perennial gardens, cut flower gardens. I've already told you guys that the lower wooden raised bed is going to be one that is mostly peppers, and I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to be planting my tomatoes, which is an interesting problem to have with all of the new gardening spaces that I've added. This section of my garden gets the least amount of sun in comparison to this side, simply because of all of the trees that I have surrounding my garden. And with the way that the sun rises and sets over my yard. So I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to be planting all of my tomatoes. I know I'm going to be planting some in my green stock back here. And then I guess I'm just gonna have to, like, I don't know, plant them on this side. I have a few spots over here. I do, however, have a new Smart Pot raised bed. I haven't filled it yet. I still haven't finalized where I want it in the garden. I need to do that. So that'll have a few tomatoes in it as well. But I have a whole tray of tomatoes that need homes. So maybe we're gonna be intermingling the tomatoes along with the cut flowers. We'll have to see. I haven't quite figured it out yet. How do you guys like to plan your garden? Are you like me and you like to bring out the pencil, the paper, draw things out, and just get a general idea? Do you like chaos gardening, where you just kind of, you have all these plants and you just set them out everywhere and you just figure it out on the day of? Or perhaps you are someone who likes to use a program online. Let me know down below what kind of gardener you are, what kind of garden planner you are. I know even though I have a list of all of these plants and I know how many I have, I know I'm still going to be going to greenhouses and picking up some really fun varieties that I wasn't able to grow this year, or that I didn't even didn't know existed. So there's always going to be room for more. But I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are ready for some summer gardening. I know I am. I have been outside as much as possible the last few days, just enjoying being out here, sitting in this chair right here in my garden, and just visualizing all that is to come. Because once it becomes August, this becomes a beautiful chaos. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. If you guys want to watch any of my other content until my next upload, I will go ahead and pop a video up here for you guys to enjoy until then. But I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Happy gardening, and let's sow some seeds.